Hey, Commanders Nation, it's your boy Hog Farmer Keith from the Hog Farmers Charitable Foundation. Before you start listening to Owning the Huddle podcast presented by Red Zone in the Lab, check out our Amazon Smile, a simple and easy way to support the Hog Farmers Charitable Foundation every time you shop, and it costs absolutely nothing to you.
Welcome to DC. You know we're down at the USA Cup. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you thought I go, you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC.
Welcome back to Owning the Huddle podcast. And in the building, we got CeeLo, we got Breeze, we got DT, and you got me, Deuce. What's good today, Breeze?
Man, this has been a long day. But I'm here though.
CeeLo, your boy Ed Reed flipping out, man. What's good today, man?
Bro, I don't never hear from Ed Reed until now. It's been good though, man. We all good over here.
Good. I guess Kurt this weekend. We gonna hear about it a little bit later from DT. What's good, man?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Just chilling.
I mean, on the other end, man, we got some Commanders talk, man. It's supposed to have a budget meeting today. It got canceled. We're gonna try to figure out why. QB1. There's been rumors out there that the Commanders telling potential OCs that he's gonna be a QB1 going into 2023. I don't know how true that is. We haven't heard nothing from Jack since this last presser. So some of those things we're gonna get into, man.
Welcome to Owning the Huddle podcast presented by Red Zone in the Lab, where we discuss all things Washington Commanders, from the executive and front offices, coaches, players, and fan experience. Join DT, Breeze, CeeLo, and Deuce as they break down the pre- and post games. Do it because you love it and not because it loves you. Hail Commanders!
All right, Breeze, we supposed to be talking about some leaks or some rumors that may have came out from the budget meeting today for Ron Rivera and Mayhew, Jason Wright, Ron Rivera. But it was canceled. A lot of rumors started to come out about the sale and how Bezos didn't put a bid in, and is Bezos really playing chess, not checkers? JP said he's been hearing that the sale is almost final. So for you, man, what's the reason you think why the meeting was scheduled, or just Dan, he's just overseas, he ain't got no internet right now?
Oh man, I listen. I have absolutely no clue, but what I do believe for a meeting of this, I guess, magnitude, for lack of a better word, to just get canceled the day of, or more, the day of. Something seems like it's going on. That's not like a normal business practice, just canceling, budget meetings the day of, especially pertaining with all of this stuff going on. So what I know, typically where there's smoke, there's fire. So we'll see what happens with it, man. But I can't put my finger on it.
Man, DT, I'm thinking we're gonna have some news, man. You know what I'm saying? We got a budget, and we're gonna go after, release Wentz, maybe, sign a coordinator. I mean, something, man. I mean, are you surprised at all from what we've been saying over the past 20 some odd years from this organization that this meeting was canceled the day
of? To be honest with you, no. I mean, I think by now, as Washington fans, we should be used to it, especially with Ron. When he said it's going to be one day, I just expected it to be the other day. So, but no, I think, it might be some more variables to this. We've been hearing what we've been trying to hear about some things. Obviously, contract talks, going to the cap, some cash money, talking about things like that with players, trying to extend some guys, and then just looking at the roster evaluation. I think they're still going through some roster evaluation, especially at the offensive line and quarterback position. I think those are the two key things this offseason that we have discussed. And I think, just even from the ownership side, who are they actually talking to? I mean, it could be Dan or it could be the new guy. We just, we're just waiting out here. We're just waiting in the blue, man.
Man, I'm thinking, CeeLo, that like this meeting is already penciled in at the beginning of the year, right? Of course, you're not going to have it the day after or whatever. But let's not say that, because I guess they do think they're going to the playoffs. I hope they ain't coming to the season. No, they wasn't going to be in the playoffs. But just by just kind of the timing of it. Do you think this has anything to do with new ownership? Why this meeting was rescheduled to later in the week?
I hope not. I think they have a plan that they want to execute, and you want to get together with ownership after the season is over, kind of just reset and understand everyone's, perspectives going into the off season. So I'm just hoping it's just a conflict that, Dan got to go and, got to go and meet mother of Johnny Rockets meetings or something. But but the reality is, knowing what we know about Dan, it's probably more to it. It's probably a little bit more to it. I think, he may actually be asking himself, how much do I want to provide input into something that I'm not really going to have much say so over beyond June, of this year, right? And so he's probably want to set that stage, tell Ron what he thinks he should do until things are settled and kind of go from there. So that's what I'm thinking is really going down, and Dan is probably trying to figure out exactly how to communicate that, as best he can. That's what I'm thinking.
DT, we saw that number come out that the highest bid was like at $6.3 billion, and of course Bezos didn't bid, and it's not too late, right? He still can. Do you think he's looking at these first bidders like, man, that's all y'all got?
Well, I mean, sometimes when you think it from a business standpoint, that's the game you're going to have to play. And, someone eventually is going to try to raise their stake for this. This is a valuable franchise, guys.
Yeah.
Washington is not some team that just got made in like the early 1990s or 80s. This team was made in the 1930s. So this franchise has a lot of rich history, especially in a division with the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles, four of the biggest markets in North America. So this team is going to be very chased after. And I think with the Bezos news that you brought up, he wants to see who's going to be that guy that's going to ink up a little bit. It could be like a Josh Harris or this new guy that popped out of nowhere who owns Chelsea in Europe. Like, I think that's going to be an intriguing name we have to keep our eyes for.
They say he's another Dan Snyder too.
They say he's another Dan Snyder.
Like he's a Commanders fan and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
he went into Chelsea and started firing people after they won and letting go people.
Let me put a bit in, man. God, please,
but
let me put a bit in.
To DT's point about the value, though, like we all know this is a historical franchise. It has we as fans know the value of the organization. But at the same time, like a Rolls Royce has value to it too. If you total it, you can't sell it for what it's worth, for what it should be worth, though. You know what I'm saying? So while I 100% agree with you that Snyder could be looking like this is it? Like, I'm good. Like, he is a major factor in what drove the value down if the value isn't driven into the ground. You know what I'm saying? So it's hardly possible. And we all know Dan. He just might just be out of touch with stuff like that. Like it's still the Redskins / Commanders, whatever you want to call them. Like,
so what does he owe the league? Is it $5 billion, $3 billion? What was the number? You remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I got to think about what that number is because he has to pay that back, and he's like, man, look, I need to at least double that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to pay back all that money. You know what I'm saying? So, CeeLo, do you think there's a chance that Dan is like, look, I'm not selling to Bezos whatsoever. It doesn't matter. I don't want to sell to him no matter what the number is. Is there a way for a new owner to purchase this team and then some way, a three-way purchase somehow, pay 6.5 for it, and then Bezos buy from them for like 7.6? Is something like that possible?
Negative. Negative. I man, I'm not so I know it's popular because of the Bezos Washington Post connection to say this, but I can't see even someone like Dan Snyder letting $1 billion on the table just because he don't like somebody. I think
Yeah, I agree.
I, I think money talks, man. I think Bezos come in there and slide say, "Hey, Dan, I got 7 on you." They're gonna be like, "Where do I sign?" I mean, I think it's that serious. That's a lot of money to to let go of because of some personal disagreements. So money usually settles all that kind of stuff.
But if we all know, if it's one person that just really just
It's
don't
petty.
give a it's I mean, look at what's been going on with the entire world. Like, bruh, just sell it, let it go. And he's like, no, I'm gonna hang on to it. I think I'm gonna work it out. Like, if it's one person that just don't care, it's probably him.
So here's one thing: if he's that petty to keep on, to keep the team sold or away from Bezos, what's to say he not even selling? You know what I'm saying? Like you can go every which way. He's just trying to raise the value.
I don't believe this team is being sold until I see a headline stating that Daniel M. Snyder has sold the team. Until that point, I don't believe it.
And that's crazy too, because like if let's say he is being petty, right? And Bezos want to do 7.6 or 8 billion. He like, nah, I'm gonna take this 6.2. The NFL probably like, nah, Bezos, we gonna take this 7.5. Dan could be like, nah, wait a minute. They be like, look, Wilkerson and 24. And Dan be like, all right, yeah, so you can have it. Because I think they got that Wilkerson, that 24 votes in their back pocket.
Hey man, all I gotta say is this is about to be the nastiest auction you've ever heard.
Oh,
It's about to be nasty.
All right, man. Let's get into some actual football stuff on the football side. So, reports have surfaced over the weekend that the Commanders is letting all of the potential OCs know that Sam Howell is going to be the starting quarterback going into the offseason in the 2023 season. CeeLo, is that just because he's the only quarterback on the roster that's actually signed? I know Wentz is too, but we kind of know what his position is. No way they bring him back at $26.5 million. Do you think this is a good move out of Commanders?
I don't know. I guess.
Because I know we've been thinking we was going to have this conversation like 2 days ago. Still,
this franchise never ceases to amaze me, bro. I swear. So because it's funny because here you go, you don't play the kid all year for whatever reason. You play him the 16th, 7th, whatever it is, 18th week, and all of a sudden he's just starting QB1. Like, really? Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that they're gonna ask OCs. So he's the QB1. And I'm thinking, if I'm an OC, I'd be like, are you sure about that? I mean, internally, I wouldn't say that, but I'm like, as an interviewer or interviewee, I'm like, so no, I don't think that's very smart. I think I want to hear from an OC. What is your principles? What do you believe in? How do you think you can apply that to the personnel that we have? And QB aside, how do you think that's going to transfer over to these players over a course of a offseason that's not a number of weeks, and then beyond that, you want to hear about I don't want to if I'm an interviewer, if I'm Ron, I'm not going to want to bring up anything about having one more year left. That can be implied, but I don't want to talk about that because clearly you don't have any control over that. So you want to talk about things you can control if you're Ron, like on the field stuff, personnel. We can get you what you need. What do you need? What do you think you're going to need to be successful? Blah, 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 blah. That's what I hope they're talking about. But if they're telling these people, bring in Sam Howell tape, let me see how you're going to make him, a top 15 quarterback, I'm going to be like, so that's just kind of how I look at it.
So DC, if that is the case, right? As an OC that comes in And let's just say they do say that, right? Sam Howell is the guy. I want you to do this. And they're like, well, I don't really think Sam Howell is a future quarterback. I have some options in the draft and some options that I think that'll be possible for a trade. What does Ron Rivera say after that?
Man, that's actually a good question, because when the report came out, I was excited, yet I was kind of mixed about it, because obviously, like y'all said, he's really, in hindsight, the only quarterback that's guaranteed to come back next year. He was drafted by this regime, but it's also like this guy. I understand he was supposed to be a first-round pick years ago, but he's not a first-round pick. It's very rare to go into another offseason when you have a guy that's basically a fifth-round pick. Who would start a fifth-round pick as a starter automatically? And if a guy comes in and he's like, yeah, one game, and if you come in,
we're gonna talk about this, Breeze, because you're gonna stop ducking it. Yeah? Go ahead, DT.
But I think that's a good question, though, because there's going to be some people that did not like how. Remember, 32 teams passed on him until it was us in the 5th round. So it has to be something that they saw either on tape or off the field that they didn't like. Not saying that he's a bad character and things like that. From what I've seen, he's a good guy, but there has to be something that they seen on film that they felt like was going to be either faltering him through an NFL process, or it's going to take a long time to develop, like, the other quarterbacks and things like that. So I have to take into account that there's going to be somebody that's going to compete with Sam Howell. This job is not technically his. It's really like, hey, okay, so we want to bring you in and we want to see if you can work with Sam Howell to be QB1. He's still not QB1 yet. He hasn't reached that development process in his early stage. We're trying to bring that out of him. And we only see one sample size. I think the one sample size is really going to be the indictment on this regime. Because if you had like 6 to 8 games of what Howells look like, okay, then we can work with something. One game is hard to work with, man.
So, Coach Breeze, you were talking to Coach Breeze, not Celebrity Breeze. Coach Breeze. How important is it to have your starting quarterback going into the offseason? So let's say your senior leaves, right? He goes to college, and you might have a sophomore and a junior. The sophomore been balling out at JV. He looks like he's going to be the next guy. The junior has just been there a couple years. He can do it, but sophomore may be better. Do you just go in and say, hey, look, it's the juniors. It's your job. You're next up. Or do you go with the better player? Or do you just make it a competition?
Me? I'm putting the best 11 on the field. So while it's very important to have some continuity and you want to have your guy already in the building, all that kind of stuff, that's great. That's not the end all be all. You know what I mean? Me personally, in that scenario, I'm gonna let him compete and make the best man win. If the junior, or if we get a freshman in there and he can sling it, hey, I appreciate the work you put in getting here, but Shorty got it. He got it next. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm going with the best option, the better option is.
Does that handicap the Commanders going into the offseason? Like with free agents and things like potential trades, people like, oh, no, they already saying he QB1. No reason for me to go there. I'm not gonna have a shot. Like, how much does this actually handicap Ron, man?
It can hurt, but I think there is a lot to the point of, like, Taylor Heineke is not under contract for next season. Carson Wentz, although technically is under contract, most of us kind of see where that's likely going to end up. So it could be a situation like that, but look, as it pertains to next season, Sam is the only guy that we know for, like I think CeeLo said, somebody said, or my bad, that like Sam is the only guy that we know is going to be on the roster next year, and we want to give him an opportunity to, at the very least, an opportunity to start. But it is worth noting that historically, you know what I mean, coach after coach after coach inherit other people's quarterbacks. So Jay was hired being told, hey, RG3 is your quarterback. We saw how that worked out. Ron was hired being told, hey, Dwayne is your quarterback. We saw how that worked out. You know, God rest his soul. Like we see this repeatedly. So if Sam is the best man for the job, by all means, let's boogie with Sam Howell. If not, let that coordinator and whoever else is making decisions go find whoever that guy may be, whether it's this year or next. But we gotta, you can't just keep going with retreads, backups, and scrap heap players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree.
Hey, Breeze, don't forget that report came out today. Apparently, Scott Turner wasn't all in on Carson Wentz. So, I mean, I don't know what this staff want to see in a quarterback. I don't know, man. I pray Scott Turner and Ron with them were all in on getting Sam Howell, because I did see Scott looking at Sam Howell as pro day. I hope he was like, that's the guy I want. I want to get this brother right here. He can sling it. That's all I need to pray. I need to pray for that, because I can't go to another quarterback carousel again, bro. I can't do it no more.
It would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice to have a quarterback that everybody universally agrees on. Like, that would be nice for the head coach, offensive coordinator, ownership. Everybody, hey, this is our guy. We all agree? Cool, bet, let's roll. It would be nice, but old habits die hard, I guess, man. Old habits die hard.
CeeLo. You muted. Probably spitting fire too.
Of course I was. So I was gonna say, what if Sam was our first round pick?
Mm-hmm.
He sat on the bench all year, played that one game, week 18. Do we turn the keys over because he was a first round pick, top 10, top 15, top 20 pick, or is it because he's a fifth round pick we can't do that?
I think that's exactly the reason.
I think it creates a conversation for sure. But the fact he was a fifth round pick and like that is, I believe, what the hang up is. For me, I remember going into that week, I said I felt like he would look a lot like Taylor Heineke with a stronger arm, and that's pretty much what his end result was. Maybe not the eye test wise, but end result wise, that's pretty much what it looked like. I feel like you can't necessarily go into next year with one game of that and be like, oh yeah, that's our starting quarterback. And I like Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell can be good. You know what I'm saying? Before Deucey was starting. But you know what I mean?
Let it be known.
I like Sam Howell. But I just think that him being the fifth round pick that was drafted, I'm assuming to be more of a project quarterback that you develop along the way. And then you get one game of, he wasn't spectacular stat-wise. I mean, you get one game of that, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's our quarterback next year. Like, I don't know if that's the best recipe for success. I think it can work. There's a way to make it work, but I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about it, though.
Okay. So CeeLo, that scenario that you just brought up, right? There's a familiar quarterback that actually went through that same process, and he is currently MVP. Now, I think the certain different circumstances are, one, they had a consistent established vet at quarterback, and they have one of the great offensive minds in NFL history, Andy Reid. Now, comparing this situation to here, we just fired our OC, and this brother probably about to learn a whole nother system, or they just bring another voice in to run the same system. It's I think when we look at it, I think the first round thing is good, but it's also overblown because now we're seeing Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft, playing at an efficient level that can rival any top 15 quarterback. Now, of course, he has Kyle Shanahan, and that 49 team is stacked, but he's balling, bro. You gotta give credit as credit due, and that's gonna push people to be like, hey, we ain't gotta take a quarterback in the fifth round. Just find a guy that fits your system.
Exactly. Okay.
What a scenario, man.
I know what CeeLo doing.
CeeLo always playing chess, man. Like you just know something's coming later, you know? after this, man, we're gonna come right back. We're gonna talk about if I am the GM, who is the OC that I am going to go after. We also gonna talk about Jack. Is there an issue with Jack? And then coming back with Not About Us, is Kirk really kirking them?
Hi, I'm Christian Miles, native Washingtonian and real estate agent servicing the Washington metropolitan area. I started my career as an investor and later transitioned to the residential side. I really wanted to leave the investor side because I wanted to connect with people. Building relationships is important to me. I understand the buying and selling process can be challenging. I get it. I've been there. I'm a mom, wife, friend, and neighbor. I absolutely love helping families and connecting with people. Going through the home buying and selling process is stressful enough. When working with me, I make it fun. As a realtor, I think it's important to be able to connect with you. Every detail is important, no matter how small. Let me take care of the heavy lifting while you focus on the joys of finding a new home. Something I live by, people may not remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. With me, it's an experience.
So, Cheeto just let her know that Dan borrowed $450 million, which is a crazy number. But again, you still don't let $1.8 billion because you don't like somebody. I just don't see that happen. But like Bree said, if that does happen, the pettiest dude in the world will be the one that does it. For sure. All right, DT, you the GM. You had almost a week to decide who do you want. You can pick whoever you want. Let us know who it is and why.
Okay, so if I was the GM of the Washington Commanders and I'm looking at my offensive skill position, I'm looking at how I want to be way more balanced, and I have a young quarterback who has a high ceiling that can be reached if I have a great offensive system around him. And one of the things we see in the NFL, we see how these innovative coordinators, when they have these young quarterbacks, they cater that offense to them. They cater it to the things they are able to do in college at an effective rate. They're able to make things easier for them. They're really being their best friend off the field. So when I look at this team, if there was a guy that I would suggest to be the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders,
It's like the draft.
I know on the last show, Joe Brady and Pep Hamilton, those are my guys. But I think I'll go with Darrell Bevell. I think that's a guy that makes a lot of sense. He was with Seattle, a great organization that was winning consistently when they had Marshawn Lynch. They were able to pound the rock, have two good running backs on our team, and you have a quarterback that's almost similar size to Russell Wilson, 6'5", 11, but they have a great arm talent. So having a strong play action offense with Sam Howell and still cater some things that he did in college. Also, don't forget that Darrell Bevell was 1 year. He was also the passing game coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. And you see that Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill both have over 1,200 yards receiving. And you got Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, and Curtis Samuel. So I think a guy like that makes complete sense for Ron Rivera. You can get that 2.1 run-pass ratio, and you can be a very effective offense that don't have to have bad play calling whatsoever.
And it was reports today that they requested permission to interview Bevell. So that's going to get interesting. More and more reports are starting to come out. I think we just know of two right now, right? Just the decline from Caldwell because he wants to look at head coaches, and this one from Bevell. That was the only two so far, right?
Yep.
All right, Breeze.
Officially.
You've been grabbed. You the GM of the Commanders. Who do you want?
Listen, Darrell Bevell was a very solid choice, and I think a much more practical choice But I'm looking at two kind of younger guys, a little lower in the ranks, or two offenses that I'm a fan of that I feel like could help us move the ball, and not just move the ball but score the ball. One being Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts' development and the potency of that offense with the receiving weapons that they have. I think, in a lot of ways we can kind of mirror that. Sam may not be what Jalen Hurts is running, but he can move too though.
Yeah.
So Sam was one. Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach for the Eagles, is one, and the other guy was what's his name? Thomas Brown from the Rams. He's I believe the tight ends coach,
Tight ends
assistant
coach.
head coach for the Rams. Yeah. He seems like a guy. We have a fairly young offense, especially with the skill guys. He seems like very much like a player's coach. He's like a lot like Sean McVay. His players love him. He gets along with it. He played football. He played, I think, running back at Georgia. He's been in the league. He was in the league prior to getting hurt, I believe. So he's somebody I feel like moving forward. Wants the opportunity to move forward, move up in the ranks. And I feel like I feel like he can do a very good job. That being said, the Rams do have an open offensive coordinator position right now, and he could very much be in line to get that. And if that's the case, why would he come here? But those would be my two guys, though: Thomas Brown and Brian Johnson. One of those two.
Good choices. CeeLo.
I'm going full Madden, right? So if I look at this roster, I think I have 3-4-3 type guys. And then I have guys like Brian Robinson, and the speed, and then I'm going to probably continue to add to that in this offseason. I would like to take advantage of that kind of speed. I want to be able to spread teams out, and I want to be able to find the mismatches and I want to hit those mismatches as easily and as quickly as possible. Now, some might look at that as what they call an air raid offense, right? Which is not very popular in NFL for obvious reasons. But if Nirvana, perfect world, I will go Phil Longo.
There you go.
There you go. Because as we all know, Phil was the QB coach at UNC. Sam knows Phil.
UNC.
UNC.
I'm sorry, UNC.
Yeah, UNC. Now I think he's now in Wisconsin now. But I feel like that'll be if they're telling OCs or asking OCs, what can you do with this QB1? Phil will be like, I know exactly what you can do with this QB1. And let me show you.
Anybody knows, I know.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's a natural fit. I know that's not going to happen. I know Phil I think he actually grabbed a 4-star recruit out of USC just in the transfer portal just the other day. So I'm pretty sure they're pretty stacked and ready to go and ready to roll. But if money, if we're gonna throw money
NFL,
out, all that stuff, he's gonna be like, I'll be there, So that's just my opinion. He's not a young guy. He's like 54. He's not a young guy and all that kind of stuff. But my second option, if that was not going to happen, was probably going to be Bill O'Brien. He was the OC at Alabama last year, and I felt like they had a really good, although they didn't make it all the way to the big dance, I thought they had some good and some positive and more pro style type of offense, so that a little bit more realistic as far as what we're looking for here and the weapons that we have here. But I just want an OC that's going to be able to take these weapons, assume we're going to get better the offensive line position, and tell me how you're going to deploy those weapons on a more consistent basis. And I really want to see that. I don't want to see receivers blocking downfield. I just don't.
And similar to what CeeLo said earlier about like this may possibly be like a 1-year rental for any of those guys, because Ron may be gone and they may be coming here just for the rental. For those guys that you all would like to have as the OC, do you see an issue with any of those guys taking a 1-year rental type job just to improve their resume for 2024? Start with you, DT.
I don't think a guy like Bevel would be bothered with a 1-year stop because he already has a great resume. I do believe that it probably would concern him. He would much rather have more stability in a job like that, knowing that ownership is going to be changing a lot of things around him. But I think he's very comfortable with probably knowing the situation and just doing his job and just helping the offense. Just be top 15 or be better than the last 3 years. This offense has really held this team back from a lot of standpoints, like having 2 out of 3 years a top 10 defense, but your offense has been bottom 20. That's something has to give, and that's why Scott Turner was fired.
What about you, CeeLo?
I think it can be an issue for some, depending on the candidate. I think, to DT's point, Daryl may be okay with it based on his resume and where he's been. He's been everywhere. That's why I mentioned the college route. I feel like college guys may be a little bit more flexible when it comes to a shorter term contract, and so you can potentially coax them into a shorter deal with potential, all kinds of potential based on how you perform. I will say that's probably why that meeting was part of the reason why that meeting is important with Dan Snyder. How do you sign an OC that's going to probably demand, at least quality OC is going to demand at least a 3-year contract? And so, can you commit to that kind of money with everything being in limbo? That's a reasonable question, because most OCs don't care what's happening with ownership. They're going to want their deal to be at least 2 to 3 years, or you can go kick rocks. So that's what I'm thinking.
What about you, Breeze?
For my candidate specifically, I think Thomas Brown kind of might be willing to take the 1-year rental route, because he is somebody I know has like head coach aspirations, like in the very near future. He may take that opportunity, but like, I'm gonna show y'all what I can do with this offense, running my offense with a different team, to show y'all that I'm ready for this, for this promotion, not just the OC but the head coach. And if it kind of happens where Ron is gone in 2024, he could be next in line for that opportunity. With Brian Johnson, it's like, I'm on a very, very good team right now. If I take this 1-year rental and we suck, that's gonna hurt me moving forward. If he had those aspirations at this, I'm sure most coordinators in the NFL that haven't had head coaching jobs kind of want at least the opportunity at it. So with him, I don't know if he'd be willing to do the rental, because like I got Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I got all of these pieces. I'm gonna leave all of this that I got in Philly right now, and I go to Washington, and I might potentially kill my career with 1 year Ron Rivera. You know what I mean? So it's on a case by case basis.
That's crazy. Oh man! All right. So when we get back, we're going to talk about Jack Del Rio. We're going to talk about Not About Us, which Kirk is kirking us, and we're going to try to make this a little quick, because the game's about to come on. Well, it's 8:16. It may have already started.
It just kicked off.
There's a lot of bad stigma about shopping for a used car. Well, come visit us at iCargo Motors. We'll take care of you. We'll ensure that your experience is not only seamless and efficient, but also satisfying. Because at iCargo Motors, we believe that the best form of currency is integrity.
All right, so Jack Del Rio. Is there an issue there with Jack Del Rio, or are they just actually waiting to have this meeting to see the actual years they're going to do when they extend them? DT, your man Wolt.
Yeah, my man Wolt Del Rio put some name on it. But I think for him, I think it's going to be a conversation about just giving him another extension whatsoever, how long he wants to coach the defense. I think they might have in mind that just because they change the offensive coordinator doesn't mean they might make some changes on defense. Like, our defense was top 10. Let's get that clear. But they're nowhere near the 49ers level of defense. Like, that defense can conquer you for all 4 quarters. Our defense can, it does enough to help the offense win. And, you have a young guy like Chris Harris, who has been getting looks at from other teams for the past couple of years as a defensive coordinator, and he is really one of the main guys that when you look at this defense, you see the 3 guys in the back end: Cam Curl, Benjamin St-Juste, and Forrest. All 3 guys have developed very well when they're healthy. Now, I think that's probably the conversation about, do we pass the reins to Chris Harris as defensive coordinator and probably do something about the linebacker position. I think the linebacker position has been pretty weak, obviously, but I don't think it has been like, it's like, oh, it's literally the worst position on the team. Like they are average, they do enough, but we don't have another guy with Jamin Davis or Cole Holcomb.
What about you, CeeLo? Do you think we re-sign Jack? Think it's just a paperwork thing?
I think they're going to try to. I'm simply going off of that last presser that he did. He just seemed very content with the role. I think everyone appreciates what he's been able to do with this defense. I have my quirks with Jack like everybody else does. On the football field, I still think they're really slow to react and make changes and things of that nature. We talk about elite I really have high hopes for this defense, and it's simply because of what we put into it. I mean, we have so many resources poured into the defense, it's not even funny. And so I really do expect dang on domination. So I would have conversations about what do you need to be get to the next level, et cetera, et cetera. But I think continuity is important there, and he's been doing a really good job 2 out of 3 years. I mean, you can't say enough about that. That's really what it is. So I think he can be back. I think he should be back. It's just a matter of getting the deal done.
Dallas had the ball for 10 seconds. Breeze. Do you think Del Rio did enough this year to garner a new contract, or do you actually think Ron is possibly looking at different avenues?
So they're in a very tough spot with Jack. While the defense is by far the better of the three, the main two units, special teams kind of his own thing. Defense was by far the better unit. They weren't number one, but they were top 10, right? They were top 10 defense. Finished the top 10 defense.
Yeah, top 5. I think it was 4.
Top 5. So okay.
Total defense.
So while they could be better, they could also be a lot worse. So it's kind of like, the grass may not always be greener. You know what I mean? Like you may choose to move on from Jack, and then the person who replaces him, the defense falls. We've had tons of very bad D coordinators over the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Like we know what bad defense looks like. And I think that's kind of what it is on both, not just Jack's side, but also on the team side. It's like, just a negotiation thing. Because again, like I said, while they could be better, and they definitely started slow, they could be a lot worse. So it's basically both sides negotiating and seeing what's what is what I think it is.
All right, CeeLo. So, and I wanted the Giants to lose. I'm over the whole Kirk Cousins thing, right? I don't care about Kirk no way or another. I don't hate the man. I needed him to do me. I needed him to win for me again, but of course, as always, he didn't. How do you feel about Kirk Cousins? Were you surprised of the type of performance he put on?
So, not really. I mean, Kirk is Kirk. I think statistically he had a decent game, if I'm not mistaken. But when he needed to come up big, he fell short. Obviously, everyone's talking about that 4th down call at the end of the game. That is classic Kirk Cousins. It's kind of like, remember that famous line he said, "I'm more process oriented." Like that is Kirk Cousins. It's like he does exactly what the play is called, and that's it. No more, no less. There's nothing in his brain that says, "Man, this is it. If we don't win, there is no next week." That kind of thing. It's just he's just very straight and narrow, which unfortunately I feel like the guys that has that it factor, they don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? They gonna get you the ball where it needs to be. They're gonna make a play out of no play. They're just special. And Kirk hasn't had enough of that. Now the pro Kirk people, they're gonna be like, oh, he's had, I don't know, 20-something comebacks in the 4th quarter and blah 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 blah. And the defense was the problem. It's always a caveat to Kirk. So yeah, Kirk, I can't stand it, man. I had Minnesota going to the Super Bowl. So trust and believe. I was disappointed, man. So Yeah, that's Kirk.
All right, Breeze, Kirk again, and Tampa Bay only had the ball for 17 seconds. Oh boy. So Breeze, Kirk, were you surprised?
No, not at all. Literally, like that's what Kirk Cousins does. Like he can give you ridiculous numbers in games that mean absolutely nothing, and even occasionally in a big game. And then when you really need him to be like, yo, you're a whatever his contract, you're a fully guaranteed NFL starting quarterback. He throws a 3-yard pass on 4th and 8 or whatever it is. Or if you want to have a real flashback when he was supposed to spike the ball and took a knee or something like that on foot, like stuff like that. the mental lapses that Kirk Cousins has at the worst times. Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised. Not surprised at all. That's Kirk Cousins for you. Win some.
All right, the oven is at 425. The stove is on high. DT, Kirk Cousins.
Is there any year to win a Super Bowl? It'll probably be this year. But you blew it. You blew it. There's no Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. There's only a Tom Brady. He's at 45 years old. His team is gradually trash around him. You have the Dallas Cowboys, who we know accident waiting to happen. You have the 49ers, that's probably the best team in that conference, and you have Philadelphia. Is there any chance for you to get to the NFC Championship game or at least get to the Super Bowl? It was this year. But you know what you did? You decided, on 4 for 8, I'm going to throw for 3 yards. I'm not going to throw it to the guy in the middle. I'm going to throw it 3 yards. You're going to throw it 3 yards, 4th and 8. That's disgusting. That is. Oh my God! When he did that yesterday, I just had flashbacks with him in burgundy and gold. It just like I was like, you know what? This is Kirk. This is him. Well, I should not be surprised. This is him. This is him. This is Kirk Cousins. He literally have his own category when it comes to quarterback.
He does.
You have elite. You have tier quarterbacks, bro. I'm done. I'm on.
Oh my gosh, man. All right, so before we wrap up, man, of course, Kirk. Before we wrap up, because this game is on, Cowboys on their second drive. Breeze, anything you want to say about this game to the Cowboys?
Lose, please. I need Dak to Dak. I need Zeke the bad way. I need Zeke to be fat, out of shape, and fumbling. There we go. Oh, I don't know. I need the Cowboys to lose this game because at this point, there will, regardless of what happens, there will at least be one NFC East team in the NFC Championship game, and that bothers me. The thought of the Cowboys playing either the Eagles or the Giants in the NFC Championship game is going to make me sick to my absolute stomach. So, please lose the game. That's it.
CeeLo, what do you have to say to the Dallas Cowboys?
Well said. I need them to just go ahead and do Dak does what Dak does the last 6 weeks of the season, which is throw interceptions, throw it in the worst possible time, and overthrow your receivers. That's it. That's all I need to happen.
DT, what would you like to say?
Get off the field, you chumps. Yeah, get off the field. Get off the field, man. I still hate Dallas. That's why he got sacked by Villa right here. Yeah, good swim move. Bullied online.
Man, Vita Bay been in the league. How long Vita Bay been in the league? He's been in the league forever.
Same as Allen or Payne? Which way?
Payne.
Oh, is he? I don't know why I thought he was older than that. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was hurt one year. I think it was rookie year, right? Didn't he hurt his rookie year early in his rookie year? I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, man. Again, this has been On in the Huddle podcast, and y'all know how we get when the game is on. We're gonna be looking to the left, looking to the right. Plus, it's the Cowboys. It is the playoffs. But again, thank you all out there for watching. Thank you for listening. This is On in the Huddle podcast. I'm Deuce. We got DT, CeeLo, and Breeze. Remember, do it because you love it. not because it loves you.
Welcome to Owning the Huddle podcast presented by Red Zone in the Lab, where we discuss all things Washington Commanders, from the executive and front offices, coaches, players, and fan experience. Join DT, Breeze, CeeLo, and Deuce as they break down the pre and post games. Do it because you love it and not because it loves you. Hail Commanders!